Alright, what's up guys? Got another video of what if Anakin Skywalker convinced Ahsoka to stay in the Jedi Order. So I got a cash app if you want to donate. If you have a video idea, I'll try to make it into a short or a video, so the cash app will be linked down below. But if you like this type of content, then be sure to subscribe for more /fanfics, lore, comics, reviews, video essays, and just all things Star Wars. But with all that out of the way, why don't we just dive right on in. So, the story starts during the event of the Clone Wars. After Ahsoka was expelled from the Jedi Order, Anakin had discovered the truth about Barriss Offee, the one who would bomb the Jedi Temple. He proved Ahsoka's innocence, and the Council was willing to accept her back into the Order, and now here Anakin was, and the steps that would determine everything. He held his hand out for Ahsoka, asking her to come back. But Anakin was shocked to hear her answer, and that it was no, but Skywalker just couldn't let her go. He cared about her too much. Ahsoka, please, come on, reconsider. I know the Jedi are a pain and are stuck in their ancient ways, but you and me, we are Jedi. This made Ahsoka stop, and Anakin continued. You're my Padawan, and I don't want you to walk away, but just come back with me. The Jedi aren't perfect, but maybe we could change it, make it better. So come back, Snips. Ahsoka just continued to listen, and she pondered what to do. The Jedi had falsely accused her and she was going to be executed, but once she was proven innocent, they let her back in like nothing had ever happened. She thought about it and realized it wasn't the Jedi, as when she thought about the Order, she thought about Anakin, but she realized it was the Council, not Obi-Wan or Plo Koon, but more the stubborn members who were stuck in the old Jedi ways. She was about to walk off to God knows where, most likely struggling to get by in the underbelly of Coruscant, but she had a chance to change things. Ahsoka stopped and turned around, looking at her master. Master, I'll stay, but the Jedi are complacent. I want to change them for the better, and I want to do it with you. Anakin looked up into the sky. Ahsoka, this war has gone on for far too long. The Jedi, the Senate, the Republic, it could change. We could change it. We could make it better. Ahsoka smiled at this, and so did Anakin, and that's when the student ran up and hugged her master. She was starting to squeeze a bit too tight, and once she let go, they both laughed. However, once they finished laughing, they both returned to the temple and were ready to face the Council. Ahsoka stood in front of the Jedi Council, a place full of masters she once respected, but her mind changed because of the recent events. They welcomed her back into the Order like nothing ever happened, and Ahsoka had a look on her face as they dismissed her. She had agreed to join Anakin, but they couldn't even give her an apology, not even a sorry, nothing but just wise words and get a move on. Yoda could sense Ahsoka's unease, but she pushed it down and thanked the Council and headed out. She looked at Anakin with tears in her eyes, and Skywalker scowled, but in that moment, there was nothing he could do. Ahsoka returned to her quarters. She was glad to have her master on her side, but being back in the Order itself was tough. She felt like an outsider, and the Council not even apologizing just added on to that. But time passed, and so did the war. Ahsoka had holed herself up in her room for a few weeks, but learned that getting back out there would be the best thing for her, and Anakin and Obi-Wan agreed. So after about a month, Ahsoka rejoined Anakin and the 501st back on the battlefield. The battles were unimaginably tough to deal with. It seemed like everything was just getting worse. Just when they thought the war would somehow end, it just got worse. Ahsoka during this time remembered her master's words, the ones about changing the status quo, like the Jedi and even the Republic itself. Ahsoka talked to Padme about this, and she got Ahsoka in contact with Bail Organa and Mon Mothma. She didn't want to be a politician or a senator, but it couldn't hurt to learn more about politics. She spent a considerable amount of time with them, learning the inner workings of the Republic and politics as a whole, mostly over communication and calls, but sometimes in person as well. This opened Ahsoka's eyes to the widespread corruption of the Separatists, but also the Republic. She didn't realize how bad it had gotten and saw that it went all the way to the top, and Ahsoka came to the truth when she realized that Palpatine was at the helm of this corruption. He thrust himself into power and had served longer than any chancellor, and the excuse he gave is because of the Clone Wars, but in reality Ahsoka figured that all Palpatine cared about was power. But during this time, Anakin strayed further from Ahsoka. The war had gotten to him. It was just battle after battle, and he went months without seeing his wife. It was unbearable, but with this most recent mission, that would all change. The events of Revenge of the Sith would come to play, and Palpatine would be kidnapped while the Battle of Coruscant raged on. But at the same time, Maul would take over Mandalore, so Obi-Wan and Anakin would go to rescue the Chancellor, and Ahsoka and Rex would go to deal with Maul. Ahsoka saw Anakin one last time before he left. He joked around with her, but Ahsoka could tell Anakin was in turmoil, and she decided to make a last-minute decision. She asked the Council to send another Jedi more experienced to go deal with Maul, so the Council sent Kit Fisto with Rex to Mandalore. Ahsoka thanked them, and she decided to go with Anakin and Obi-Wan to rescue the Chancellor. Anakin smiled, and he felt at ease when he had his master and Padawan by his side. The three made their way onto the invisible invisible hand and were confronted by Count Dooku. The former Jedi knocked out Obi-Wan, and that left Anakin and Ahsoka to duel the Master. Dooku disarmed Ahsoka and shot her with Force Lightning, sending her flying back, and Anakin in a rage dueled Dooku, overpowering the Sith and cutting off his hand and holding the two sabers to his neck. Ahsoka awoke and she heard Palpatine say, "Kill him now, and do it." She was shocked that the Chancellor would tell Anakin to kill an unarmed man, but she remembered everything she just figured out about him and how corrupt he truly was. Ahsoka yelled to Anakin that killing an unarmed man is not the Jedi way, and that they should take him prisoner instead so that he can be questioned. Anakin was hesitant and couldn't decide to listen between Palpatine and Ahsoka, but she continued telling Anakin to remember what they planned to do, about how they planned to make the Jedi and Republic better together. Anakin lowered the blades and took Dooku prisoner, but Palpatine scowled and angered towards Ahsoka. She looked at his face and she felt true fear. She felt a hidden darkness beneath the facade, and it frightened her to her very core. Ahsoka pushed it aside as Anakin freed Palpatine, and Ahsoka grabbed Obi-Wan. The four made their escape from the invisible hand with Dooku as their prisoner. Dooku was shocked to hear his master telling Anakin to kill him, and in due time he would tell the Jedi everything. But they reached Coruscant, and the battle in the skies ended with the destruction of the invisible hand. Dooku was put on trial and sentenced to life in prison, but the Jedi would question him the following day. But the next day, after Dooku was imprisoned, he was found dead in his prison cell, and it was determined that it must have been a bounty hunter. The Jedi were suspicious of this, but most of all Ahsoka. This just seemed to all point back to Palpatine. She brought her concerns to the Council. While she was still annoyed with them, she knew they could deal with him. The Council told her that they needed more information, so they ordered Anakin to spy on the Chancellor. Anakin didn't like this, but he still listened. He began talking to Palpatine, and during this time he also began having nightmares of Padme dying. This drove Skywalker over the edge, and he wanted to do anything to save Padme. He realized he needed to get into the restricted section in order to find a way to save his wife, or, if need be, use an alternative method. Anakin thought about it and came up with the idea to use Ahsoka to get what he needs to save Padme. He talked to the Jedi Council and said that with the recent events and helping to stop Dooku, that was her trial and she was ready to become a Jedi Knight. The Council had a meeting and agreed that Anakin was right, so Ahsoka was given the rank of Jedi Knight. Skywalker also informed the Council that he was to become Palpatine's personal representative on the Council, which they weren't too thrilled about, but let it slide. Ahsoka looked at Anakin as Mace Windu told Anakin that he was granted a seat on this council, and that he was granted the rank of Master since he completed Ahsoka's training. Ahsoka looked at Anakin as he bowed, and she saw his smile, and she wondered if there was an ulterior motive for him wanting to become a Master all of a sudden. Events continued, and Palpatine revealed General Grievous was on Utapau, and Obi-Wan was sent to destroy him. Anakin spent most of, if not all of his time in the restricted section, ignoring everyone and everything, which included Palpatine. The Chancellor was furious that Anakin became a Master, so he made the dreams even worse, showing Anakin not just losing Padme, but Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, Rex, and everyone else he cared about. This fueled his drive, and Palpatine just pushed Anakin further down into madness, and that's when he told him the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise. Ahsoka was worried about Anakin, and she brought her concerns to Mace Windu, and the Master of the Order sat down with Anakin. Even though they weren't on the best of terms, Mace still respected Anakin for defeating Dooku. Anakin said everything was fine, that he's just trying to learn more about the Force to reach his fullest potential. Windu gave him advice that seeking power through the Force can lead to corruption and the dark side, but it's best to keep an open mind when exploring new avenues, and that not everything may come as it seems when related to the Force. Mace left, and Anakin sat alone, thinking about the last thing the Master of the Order said, and he thought about it, and that maybe the dreams weren't so set in stone. Anakin talked to the one person who seemed to understand, which was Palpatine, and the Chancellor revealed that he was the Sith Lord, which shocked Anakin. Everything had been a lie, but Palpatine said the only way to save Padme was to join him. Anakin left and informed Windu that Palpatine was the Sith Lord, and Mace could feel Anakin's turmoil, so he told him to stay in the Council chambers. Skywalker didn't want to, but he obliged. Most of the other Council members were off-world, like Kit Fisto, who was still dealing with Maul, so Mace Windu, Aegon Kolar, Saesee Tiin, and Shaak Ti confronted Palpatine, and the battle began. Anakin knew he couldn't wait here. This day would mark the fate of the galaxy. He ran to the Chancellor's office and could hear the duel. Anakin walked inside and saw the bodies of Saesee Tiin, Aegon Kolar, and half of Shaak Ti. Mace was dueling Palpatine, but the Sith Lord was losing, and he fell to the floor, and he asked Anakin for help. He told him that he was the only one who could save his wife. Mace heard this and looked at Anakin. Sure, he'd become a Master now, but he had a surefire way to save Padme. Anakin was about to reach for his saber when he felt a hand stop him. He looked behind him to see Ahsoka, and he was shocked. Ahsoka told Anakin to think about what he was doing, to look around, to look at the dead masters. Palpatine was responsible for everything. Skywalker looked at the corpses and understood that Palpatine was the one behind it all. The Clone Wars, Padme's failed assassination attempts, and even the dreams, all to get Anakin to join him. But Palpatine sensed Anakin making a choice and used this distraction to blast Windu with lightning and send him flying out of the window to his death. Palpatine laughed as Anakin and Ahsoka ignited their sabers, and Palpatine used the Force to grab his remaining saber. He was tired from the battle with the council members, and Anakin and Ahsoka were going to use that. Ahsoka leapt forward with her twin blades and struck at the Sith from all angles. He blocked each one with ease, but Ahsoka was just a distraction for Anakin, who used Form 5 to attack aggressively. Palpatine was much faster, but Anakin's strikes had much more power. Palpatine sensed this and laughed as he used the Force to pull another lightsaber. He used Force lightning and blasted Anakin, sending him flying back. He launched towards Ahsoka, and the two dual lightsaber wielders struck against one another. But Palpatine was leagues ahead of her, and he swung his right blade, cutting off her left arm, and plunged his left saber into her shoulder. He began choking her with the Force, and as Anakin saw this, he tried to get back up, but was blasted with more lightning. Palpatine laughed, telling Anakin that now his wife and his little Padawan were both going to die. Skywalker in that moment had a burst of power and blocked Palpatine's lightning. He ran forward, using the Force to call Shaak Ti's saber and cut off Palpatine's arm, holding up Ahsoka, and she struggled to breathe. The Chancellor screamed in pain, and Anakin used his chance to rush forward and gut the Sith Lord. Palpatine dropped to the floor dead, and Anakin ran over to Ahsoka. She was alive, but barely. Time passed, and Ahsoka was taken to a medical facility where she made a full recovery. Kit Fisto arrested Maul and Obi-Wan destroyed Grievous. Anakin revealed everything and the council was shocked, but the Jedi brought this to the Senate, showing proof Palpatine was playing both sides. The Separatist Council was arrested on Mustafar, and the Clone Wars came to an end. Bail Organa would become the new Chancellor, and Padme would give birth to Luke and Leia. Anakin would be allowed to stay in the Jedi Order, and Yoda would see that they'd become too complacent and that they needed to change. He stepped down from being Grandmaster, and the role was given to Plo Koon, but in time it would be passed on. Luke and Leia would be trained as Jedi, and Luke would become Ahsoka's Padawan, and Leia would become Obi-Wan's Padawan. After Plo Koon stepped down, Anakin would become Grand Master, and Ahsoka would become Master of the Order. And the two Jedi Masters would do what they had always planned to do and change the Jedi. They relocated the Order to Octu, but were still in contact with the Republic, and the change was only beginning for the galaxy, with Anakin and Ahsoka at the helm, ready to usher in a new era of peace and prosperity for the galaxy. Alright, and that's the story, so if you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. But let's talk about the story. So I definitely enjoyed writing this one. It's definitely different from the ones I normally do. Usually it's like Anakin-centric or Anakin and Obi-Wan, but never really done an Anakin and Ahsoka-centric, and I definitely fuck with that. I mean, I've done Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka, but never really Anakin and Ahsoka at the forefront, and I'm definitely down to do more stories like that, but I feel like this what if could go in a few different directions, but I like the way that it went in, like the direction that it went in. But let me know down below what else you want to see. But if you want to see a video or a short done, donate to the Cash App if you want to. You don't have to, but it'll be linked down below. Go check out my other channels if you want to see more from me, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.